Yeah. All right, I think we can get started. It's 8 o'clock. Dave said he's gonna be late. I guess he had some family, he was expecting a
Second
grandson.
grandbaby.
A grandchild,
It didn't show
but it was a
up.
false alarm.
So he's a little on the late side this morning. We'll get started. Rhonda, roll call. I guess, it looks like we got more people than normal.
Oh, I can leave. It's too late.
Yeah, I know. There you go.
Okay,
Oh, early
Mr.
action.
Hall,
That's what I've done that before. Okay,
Mr.
Roll
Hall,
here.
Mr. Bakley,
Here.
Mr. Dixon,
Here.
Mr. Artisan,
Here.
Mr. Carter, Mr. Holsinger,
Here.
Mr. Postles,
Here.
Mr. Shilo,
Here.
Ms. Smith. Here. We have a quorum.
No quorum. Moving right along. First item of business is the approval of the minutes for the January 25th meeting. These were emailed. Do we have any questions, corrections, things moving ahead? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
So moved.
Second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carried. Moving ahead, public comment. This is any public comment at this point? None? Okay. Okay, no public comment, we'll move on. Oh, we're already down to the boss.
Okay, so number 4 on your agenda is for Antique Depot Storage Units Phase 2. This is in Duncansville Borough, located along 2nd Avenue and 14th Street. And this is for the construction of 2 new storage unit buildings at the Antique Depot site. One will be 2,200 square feet and the other 2,400 square feet. I have red circles. I don't have a pointer, but I did have put red circles around where the proposed storage units are to be. This is the site plan. No changes to the site access are proposed. The existing access driveways are off Water Street and 14th Street, and those will be utilized as well as access from the existing Antique Depot parking lot. They did include additional width to the gravel access drives that surround the lot and the proposed storage units. As you can see, those are the dark gravel areas on the plan. No additional parking is proposed, and no lighting or photometrics were provided with the plan. We did recommend that the developer, if they were to include any lighting at the site, would shield it or direct it in a manner to prevent spillage onto neighboring properties and roadways. The construction of these storage units would likely generate increased vehicle traffic at the site. However, due to this type and size of the development, we did not anticipate significant increased peak hour vehicle trips to the site. So no negative impacts on the transportation system anticipated as a result of the development of the 2 storage units. The site is, there was a presence of the 100-year floodplain on the site. I think you can see it here in this environmental map. The units are not being built within the floodplain, so we did not anticipate any environmental concerns as a result of that development. However, the developer has stated that the proposed stormwater management controls have been designed per the Duncansville Borough Stormwater Management Ordinance. And additionally, they're converting a portion of the gravel lot back into grass lawn, which should help mitigate some of the negative impacts on the watershed as a result of the development. Any questions?
Are there any questions? Fairly straightforward. If there are no questions, I'll entertain a motion to approve the actions and recommendations of the staff for item 4 of the agenda.
So moved.
Second. Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carried.
Okay, number 5 on your agenda, this one more serves as an update. Typically, we wouldn't take something like a subdivision or bring it in front of you guys. This is more of a staff level, but because this was a property that we have discussed previously, we did want to kind of serve an update for that. So this submission was for BC Holdings 2020 LLC and Hollidaysburg Borough, and this is for the subdivision of Stoll Farm, or the former Stoll Farm property. And this is for the borough's acquisition of a 7.539 acre lot for a future stormwater management facility. This is the aerial imagery of the site, and the part that I don't have a pointer, but the part that I included in red, that's roughly the part that will be subdivided for the stormwater management facility. And then this is the actual subdivision plan. The subdivided lot will be accessed by a proposed 1.2 acre access and utility easement with frontage along Bedford Street. No additional vehicle trips are anticipated as a result of the subdivision. The stormwater, this is not the plan obviously for the proposed stormwater facility that is to come, I assume. Environmentally, a review of natural features of the location revealed the presence of the 100-year floodplain and prime ag soils throughout the site. However, because no development is included with this plan, those features should not be a concern with regard to the subdivision. The site is located within Beaver Dam Branch, and no development is proposed, so no additional runoff should be generated as a result of the subdivision. This does have to be voted on because even though it's staff level, this one hasn't come out to you yet via email, so I will say that.
Okay, I guess the question, the status I had is still the status on the whole property is still the same as we found it inconsistent with the comprehensive plan because of the.
So that was with the zoning change, that was changing the zoning from TND to R2 for the entire property. That's what was inconsistent with our comprehensive plan. This subdivision is for the borough's acquisition. They're taking it's believe an eminent domain issue with the borough. They are acquiring that 7.5 acres for the stormwater management facility in Gainesville.
So that's to address some of hopefully to address some of the problems that Gazeport's having.
Correct.
Do I have a
Question.
question? Go ahead.
Are they gonna propose a huge retention pond, or have they said?
So we have not received any official plans for a stormwater management facility as of yet. The subdivision has to come first. So the subdivision is so the borough can acquire that 7.5 acres so that they are able to, propose the stormwater facility. The planning director from Hollidaysburg Borough is actually here, so if you have any questions that I can't answer, he might be able to answer. So Andy, feel free to chime in if I misspeak. Sorry to put you on the spot.
Well, I think maybe. Yeah, I'm still concerned that, I look at where the drainage direction where it lies in the whole property, that if this is going to alleviate some of their problems out there.
Right.
Most of it looks like it's in the floodplain already.
Yeah, and that's
it
is.
Yeah.
So what's the water?
What,
What's good to water a stormwater detention pond do you in a floodplain?
yeah.
So the area where the stormwater retention pond is proposed is in the top right corner. That is where the property's outlined. That is
It's up in that
floodplain.
corner there, right there.
So that is
Down and to the right a little bit.
Yeah, there, down.
Yeah, that is correct. That is,
Right in
this
there.
area right here is where it's proposed, and that is the area that's in the floodplain. And that is the problem area, so to speak, for,
Well, yeah, but the drainage is all that way.
correct.
And I would assume that the engineers who are designing the stormwater facility would account for that in their designs. The borough has not received any designs yet for this. Like Mackenzie said, the subdivision is the first step in mitigating some of the flooding issues for the folks at Gatesport. The borough is aware that this area does have a floodplain to it, but like I said, the engineers, when they design it, will be addressing how work is going to be built so it doesn't worsen the problem being in the floodplain, if that makes sense.
It wasn't rezoned yet, was it?
No,
Okay.
no. The property is still zoned T&D.
And that short little triangular space behind it, is that developable, or is it, how do they deal with that, or what does that become? Does that just become public land, or is that become part of the subdivision, or?
So those were questions that I also had for the engineer. I asked questions about
That little
what
piece
plans,
up there.
what the plans were for the rest of the land. Those were questions that I included. I think, again, those aren't questions that necessarily need to be answered in a subdivision plan. However, I did, ask about what were the plans for the rest of the 16.3 acres that were residual, because part of why we wanted to keep it T&D was to kind of prevent that piecemeal planning that was going on, and kind of have a whole plan for the area. And so just by subdividing off that 7.5 acres, I don't want it to set a precedent for, again, that same thing that we were trying to avoid.
Well, I think, and if I look at the whole site, and I think the people that live in that Gatesport, they have a legitimate complaint about their problems.
Yeah, at the Hollidaysburg zoning hearings board meeting, there was more than 30 members of the community in attendance to speak specifically about that issue. There was a lot of people that showed up to speak about flooding issues for this, in this property, in this particular rezone.
Okay.
And this subdivided areas for retention pond, correct?
So in the proposal that was submitted to the county, all it says is that that BC Holdings is subdividing this portion so that Hollidaysburg Borough can acquire it for a future stormwater management facility. We, like I said, do not have any plans. We have not seen any plans for the facility, so I cannot speak to anything about what is proposed or what is planned there.
And so has there been an engineering study to say that this is the best place for this retention pond? Has somebody done some research on this, or?
Not to my knowledge, but there has been engineering that has gone into this, so I'm sure if Hollidaysburg is planning this or has planning being done for the facility, then that might be proposed.
The borough engineers have been working on this. The proposal itself for the subdivision is actually coming from borough engineers different Monroe.
Okay.
My only question is, state regulations for subdivision says that the property has to front or adjoin a public street or avenue.
So it does,
Would that
Actually-
easement suffice that?
Street there.
this road actually does,
Yeah, but is it public?
Yeah.
It is?
it is, I believe, yes, it is a public road.
Oh, then I withdraw my question.
Yeah, it does connect there, and this utility easement and access easement is gonna be here along Bedford Street
No,
as
that's
well.
fine.
But yeah, it will have frontage along.
It actually is, as far as the subdivision goes, it's irrelevant to the stormwater issues because it's gonna be the borough and then it's gonna have to work that out. So if they flood out their own borough, they're the ones on the hook, not us.
Yeah, welcome to Laurel World of lawsuits. Do I have a motion to accept the staff recommendations and actions for item 5 of the agenda?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
If there are no further questions or any discussion, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carried. Okay, moving ahead, item 6 on the agenda is those staff level reviews which get sent out to us by email and don't rise to the level of needing a review at this meeting. We're basically working with the staff on their recommendations. So these are the ones that Mackenzie's gotten since the last meeting, I guess. And we need to talk about them, or any questions, or? concerns? Okay. Are there any questions for any of the items on item 6? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve the staff actions for item 6 of the agenda.
So moved.
Do I have a second? Second? If there are no further questions, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carried. I'm interested in that dumb 100 road though.
What about
It's actually very, it's actually a very nice place.
Yes, it
Very nice
is.
place.
Yes, it
Okay.
is.
All right.
Very,
Yeah, you should have heard the one when they were changing the postal address in Taro, and they named one down there. They came through and the people didn't respond, so they named one lane Peanut Butter Lane and the other one was Jelly. And that's when the people they got up in arms about that one.
have you ever been to Ord Hill? It's right on the, before you get to the golf course, you're down here, right here. Then 100, it's a shortcut.
Okay.
Right, Tom?
Right.
Moving right ahead, I guess we're to the point where on item 7 of the agenda, we do not have any things that require review by you at that one. So again, here are things that have been sent out by email to the board members for items that need letters of support, acknowledgments that we've seen them, just things of that nature. But it come from municipalities. And so if there are any questions on any of these,
Yes. How far is the tower gonna reach? What's the projection?
That, I don't know off the top of my head. I'm sure it was, excuse me, included in the application. I'm not sure off the top of my head.
Mackenzie, why'd they put it in under the borough?
Yeah,
Because it's
Catherine
actually
Township.
in Catherine Township.
yeah,
There's 2 of them.
two of them.
One's a historic review, and it's probably for the borough, because the borough has that historic district.
Yeah, it was just a historic review for the site, and it was the borough that submitted the,
Historic review.
yeah.
Yeah. Because they have that historic district on the register.
Is that why?
So
Okay.
that triggers a
Because
1
it's
to 6 review.
outside the borough, it's in Catherine
Yeah.
Township.
Yeah, it was just the preliminary, this is before permitting or anything, it was just a preliminary review for historic land use, any kind of, issues with sightlines, things like that. So,
are there any further questions, concerns? If there are no further questions, I will entertain a motion to approve the staff actions for item 7 on the agenda.
So moved.
I have a second.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions?
Yes.
Motion carried.
The tower, I have to abstain.
Okay. Mark, Ron, you mark that, that's been
It's on.
abstains from
Well, no, the tower, it's one tower.
Williamsburg Borough one. Okay. Moving right ahead, long range planning, who's brave?
Brave is our hazard mitigation plan.
And that's you,
That's me.
okay, I just didn't know.
I just wanted to let everybody know we are now in the big thrust for the public outreach for the hazard mitigation plan update. There's 2 main pushes for that. The first is, I should say 2 main pushes are more visible. The first is a municipal outreach. We've done one at the northern end of the county. We had 4 municipalities there, I believe. Anna, Snyder, Tyrone, and Bellwood. So we did that outreach. We will be going to the other regions of the county to pick up other municipal concerns. Concurrent with that, we will be doing a more standard public workshop outreach series a number in the evening, one during the day. I believe the one during the day will be in Altoona, and the other ones will all be scattered throughout the county. They're starting next Tuesday with those. The workshop basically lays out what a hazard mitigation plan is, what we're doing with it, and then what the public would see as anything we're missing in terms of hazards and any ideas they may have in terms of mitigation. So if somebody has a larger facility, somebody has just simple basic concerns, they can bring it in and we can try to accommodate that within the confines of the plan. So that's they always label these as updates. So we're not going to be doing a lot of changes in terms of formatting. The basic content will remain the same. We do need to update it with new research, and we need to update it with all the different types of hazard calls that have gone out in the last 5 years. The thrust of the update is going out to municipalities and the public and saying, hey, this is what's here. What are we missing? What can we do to enhance this a little more? So over the month of March, probably a little bit into April, we'll be going out and about. Again, 2 thrusts: a general public workshop and a municipal update. And we're combining that with our usual municipal outreach this year. Instead of going to every municipality, all 26 of them, we're going to combine them and do half a dozen instead. So take a little bit of a burden off of them. So right along with that, the GAC meeting will be coming up this coming month, so it'll probably come up there as well. That's that in a nutshell. There'll also be a survey going out, but those are the public, where we're going out and meeting with people. Those are the 2 thrusts.
Okay, I guess these are these items down through 11 are all yours, right?
Mine is Sherry's.
Signed is Sherry. Okay. Oh, okay. Yeah, that would make sense. She has the grant application. She got money.
Yeah, so the Act 167 grant, we received that award for the stormwater management plan for the county, $30,000. We've had Bill and Pat both signed off of those, so those executed agreements should be coming through so we can start preparing to get that sent out for the consultant to do the plan.
Okay. Doesn't require any signatures, right?
I don't know that yet.
You don't know yet. We've just been getting, BCD is now requiring electronic signatures on everything. And the only thing I can say about it, our experience so far has been it's a pain in the you-know-what.
Yes, it is.
This was DEP.
So, wait to see if we have to do any of that. So all we have to do is, we're just waiting now, right?
Yeah, Patrick signed off earlier this week, so it should flow through, and then I don't know what correspondence we'll get since this is a new one.
Okay.
You guys actually might get the email before I do. I don't know how this one works yet.
Let's start checking my email more often, I guess, because I don't check it all. I don't check it all because most of what it gets is garbage, and I keep trying to get rid of some of it, and it just keeps coming back. Okay. So if that's moving ahead, then now we're down to Dave. He's passing out paper.
Yeah.
Is this just take one and pass it along?
Yeah, take one, pass it along. We have the community planner position open. One of the things we want to do with that is take some of the older stuff out of it and put some more focused outreach element into that position. Basically, do some more public engagement and things like that. The current description does not include that element. It does include some more highly specialized things. I look at that and I wonder why we put them into that. Things like doing urban redevelopment plans, which we don't do at the county level, and helping with housing and things like that. So that's coming out, and we added in the elements for public outreach under primary duties and other duties with the changes. So this is the that's the new description, or the description you can see there, and then basically we just need to change the employee handbook.
You were talking about updating the whole handbook.
At some point, yeah.
I think part of what, again, I guess it comes back to the discussion you and I had about we're looking to hire essentially an entry-level position. And when I look at some of this got out in the ad, it looks to the point where I'd take a look at that and say, maybe if I was coming in as a fresh kid out of college, I can't do half of this, so I don't qualify for this. So we got to be careful about what we put in the handbook versus what we put in the ad to try and hire somebody and what we're doing on salary level. Because I think if you put too much in on the ad for an entry level position, you're going to scare some people away who might otherwise be reasonable candidates. So that's the only comment I have. So this is the planned update to the handbook. It's not necessarily what
Just
you're
that job description, yeah.
It's not going to be what you're going to put in the ad to try and hire somebody. Good. Okay. Is there any questions or comments on any of that? Or if you need a month to digest it? Okay, if there are no questions or concerns, I'm moving ahead to the report from the director.
What's this one first?
I guess we're getting more paper.
Yeah. We've been talking about redoing how the board representation is. Start that process. If we want to start that process, this would start here, go to the GAC, and then from that point, if the GAC is favorable, it will go out to each of the 26 stakeholders, and then ultimately, one of those 26, of course, is the county. The county then would, after everybody has their opportunity to consider the change, and the county would then pick it up and either make the change or not. The appointments ultimately belong to the commissioners. The agreement since 1964 has been, there's been 3 from the townships, 3 from the city, 3 from the boroughs. The concern here is that the municipal needs, the municipal concerns that we're addressing would likely be better addressed on a regional basis rather than a municipal type basis. So in other words, Roaring Spring, Martinsburg, and the townships that surround them probably have more in common with each other than what Roaring Spring has in common with Tyrone. That's the concept behind it. These are, again, the top chart is what we have right now. The reason it's more germane to do it right now is we have a good coverage of the regions with the current membership. And also this was our year off, so we had a little more time to consider it. There's 2 different types of proposals down in the middle there. Region 1 through 7, and then a county-wide, and then how we handle the core area, whether we do a core representative or whether we do 2 Region 3 representatives, which is almost half the population of the county just in Region 3, and then a single county-wide representative. The names that I filled in are just an example, but based on current membership, of how that could fall out. The odd region out right now is Region 7, and in my memory, we've actually never had anybody on this board from that region. So I put you in there because you're the closest one geographically to that region.
I live in Royce.
Yeah.
I'm not giving it to Linda Smith, I'm sorry.
But that's the only reason I put your name in that slot, is because you're just right across the line there. But, and again, this is just an example of how this would work. We want some discussion on it. The regions, just so everybody has a reference to them, I listed what the regions are. If we go with a core representative, what regions are the core, and then of course a county-wide. County-wide could eventually turn into having a commissioner sit in that seat, or it could remain the way it is, where we have a commissioner liaison as an ex officio. Again, that needs to be discussed as we move through this process. But this was it's a proposal we've been kicking around for a couple of years. This is a good year if we're going to make the change, So I thought we could kick it off this month and go from there.
Yeah. The only comment I would make, one of the things we've said, and it's not always been clear when we've been making the appointments. If you look at the original appointments, it says that they're supposed to be made by the GAC and approved by the commissioners. Okay, and in reality, it's been more of they've come from the things like the Boroughs Association, Township Associations, and made recommendations, and these have gone to the county, and the county has made an appointment. One of the difficulties is for new members coming on, and where we see a problem, where I see a problem anyway. This is a personal opinion, is that the 333 fosters the idea that that you represent, your borough. If you're a borough representative, okay, if I'm from Tyrone Borough, I represent Tyrone Borough, or I represent Catherine Township, or whatever your local appointment is. And in reality, that's has never been what it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be that the board is supposed to function as a oversight county-wide board. And so it's, to me, the current situation fosters a little bit of parochialism on the part that if you're from Williamsburg or wherever you're from, you tend to think, well, I'm the representative from that municipality. And in reality, you never have been, and it's always been that you're supposed to represent the board as a whole. It's just so that you're appointed from that category. So the idea was, if we go to this regional representation, it's more in line with, now board members are appointed and they realize that they represent a planning district and not an individual municipality. So it's something we have to think about and discuss. It's going to take some action, changing how we're structured. So.
I think when I got on, I was asked by Gerald Burgett, you're talking many years ago, and Ernie Hedrick, because the Cove in his area were always less on representation. So I'm sure that Ben and I, excuse me, not to speak for Ben, we would have that concern. I've never thought that I've just been from North Woodbury Township. I'm from the Cove.
Well,
and I would see that, I would also suggest that you would probably give Tom, Roaring Spring and Taylor Township, and my area is Houston, Martinsburg, and North Woodbury, as is Ben's, is Catherine, Williamsburg, and Woodbury. Because it's always been that we've always in the past years had less representation on these type of boards. And I believe we accurately know our areas, being that what we do, what we have done in the past. So I would caution to be very careful with how you divide them.
I think right now if you look at the divisions where they're set up now, they're kind of set up along school districts.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
and
these
that's
are our
important.
historic
That's also
regions.
important as well.
Yeah, these are our current regions.
They're kind
Yes.
of lined up along the school districts.
I've
Yeah, with the
never
exception
thought
of
of,
Region 7.
I've never thought of just being a township, I've thought of being a member. But
Well,
in our areas, we can add a lot, and we've sat, and we have done that. But I just caution that you be careful, because I've seen it in other, situations where that part of the county is not represented. That's my only caution.
okay, well, I hopefully, if we do this, and I'm not saying we're going to,
Really, I
We're
don't see
hoping-
the difference. If you
we're
have to have
trying to
three
address we're trying to address some of that issue of, because now,
what's the
you-
real difference, though? You have 3 townships, you have 3 in the city. Cities, there's a large population.
well,
the
and they're probably
boroughs.
gonna get an extra seat, if you look because of that core, they're probably, between Logan Township and Altoona, they're probably gonna get an extra seat, just because they are half the population of the county.
Well, they may be half the
Population,
population,
but-
but we're the majority of the ground.
Yes,
Yeah,
we're the ground.
I agree.
We're
and
not
I-
talking
and the
population.
ground is what's getting
I'm saying
developed.
is that,
Right,
the only thing I'm
I
saying
mean-
is that when you go, the only thing that,
population isn't planning.
I know, but the only thing that gets you your appointment has been a recommendation from this board, the town, either the township supervisor from your township,
Right,
or the townships association.
right. Well,
And that
ours
does,
is
and
where we
I don't
came
see,
from.
I don't see that, what I don't see is, I don't see that if your townships aren't making those recommendations, the county can't make your appointment.
Well, I'll guarantee you that they will make that representation. Right.
Does hinder or help getting people? It's always difficult to get.
Well,
people.
that brings up my other point is, I think we're all getting older and we need a younger board.
That's beside the point.
But that's not this issue, that's
It
another
is.
agree
issue.
with that.
Historically,
That's another
yeah, it has historically been difficult to get borough representation on this board. And historically, I will agree, there have been regions that have been underrepresented historically on the board. Like I said, I can't remember ever having anybody from Region 7 on this board. And I did pull and look back a little bit over time, but it gets before my memory, and you see a name, and it's meaningless to me, because I just don't know where they were from. So, I can only pull that back so far. We are 60 years old this year. In April or May, I forget what it is, but we turned 60 this year, so we do have a history. The current setup has served us over time, but there has definitely been periods where it's been very parochial in terms of being right in and around Hollidaysburg, Altoona, Duncansville, where most of the membership has been from that region, and then the outlying regions get left out, and that's another reason why we wanted to do the regional representation. It is a 9-member board. We have 7 regions. One of the other ideas was to do something like what Linda was saying and split some of the regions and do like a 5A. Region 5 is just very large in terms of the number of municipalities. Do a 5 East and a 5 West. We could do something along those lines. What's on here, just a couple proposals to get discussion going. This isn't in any means set in stone. But the idea was to ensure, like your concern is, to make sure the Cove is represented, make sure the Bellwood region is represented, make sure the southwestern part of the county, which again, to my knowledge, has never been on this board, gets some representation. And it spreads it out a little bit. I know we get complaints on the MPO a little bit. They have a similar representation. Just about all that representation from the municipal level is from the core area. There are no outlying representatives on the MPO board right now. And that causes a little bit of friction, because a lot of the money that's directed is over $10 million that that board allocates throughout this county. And that representation tends to gravitate that money into the core area. Now, that's where most of the traffic is, so you can argue that's appropriate. However, there are needs outside of that area, and sometimes they get overlooked if we as staff aren't careful and keep our eye on what's going on. Fortunately, there is a bridge inventory and things like that help keep things a little more objective on that. But we do hear that once in a while, that board has become geographically parochial, and because of the way it's set up, it's just the way it's going to be for the foreseeable future. We have an opportunity here to change that and prevent it in the future, and that's why this is being presented. And again, it came up before. If you recall, about a year and a half ago, we discussed this a little bit, and Randy Eisenberg thought this was not a good idea. He liked the current structure. He thought it was that the current structure was a little more broad and a little less parochial, because we won't be focusing, the membership won't be focusing on its regions. So that's another side of it. However, again, the current structure being mirrored on the MPO and just the history of this board, it can get parochial and tend to gravitate towards the middle of the county. So it's things the way, things we need to discuss.
Okay. Yeah, I guess that's, again, nothing in concrete, just a starting point for discussion, because I think, and I've always emphasized we bring a new member on to make sure that they realize that we're supposed to function as a county board and not as a local representative of what municipality you live in. And sometimes that's been an issue. And again,
Well, I think that
We
comes
point
down
that.
to mindset, because I'm like Linda, you know, I never thought of, I'm from Williamsburg, I'm from Catherine Township,
well, yeah, and I kind of the same way, but at the same time,
it's always been, I advocate rural, period.
But I've seen
Just because
I've
that's me.
seen the thing, I've seen it come where the large municipalities are driving the show.
Yeah, and Dave's right, because you could take the townships and say that the townships give the rural representation, but it could be.
You could put three
You
townships
could
from
put
Logan.
Allegheny,
Yeah,
Logan, and Blair Township, and now nobody in the Cove has anything.
right, and that's a problem.
And that's a whole, like, eastern sliver of side of the county.
Well, that's always been the argument about even some of the northern end of the county has been represented very well in all things. And not just this board, but things like trying for appointments to county appointments don't go to the northern end of the county. They go to the core. All of them go to the core communities. And so that's nothing new.
Well, being the youngest member here, when I came on, I didn't come on thinking that I was representing the city of Altoona. I came on thinking I was representing Blair County.
Well, and that's where we want you to be.
And
We want everybody to be.
so, but my expertise was in the city because I spent 41 years working in the city.
Yeah.
So when city, things come up, I'm familiar with that, just like, they're familiar with the code and all that other stuff. I don't know anything of it. So that's why I rely on them,
Yeah. Okay.
But I think the regional idea is a good start. I think we should be looking at area rather than, population.
Well, I think the only reason it's set up the only reason there's 7 right now is it follows what the school districts are, and that's the only thing.
Well, we can start there.
That's not necessarily what you want to do.
We can start there, but then we can also,
You can
change
fine tune it. Yeah, you can move it. I think it's just right now. I think that's just it's a starting point. That's all I'm saying. It's a starting point for discussion of what we think. Do we want to do anything, or do we just want to continue the status quo, or what do we want to do?
I think we should do something. I don't think we should just keep regurgitating the same old stuff over and over again. Everything changes, and I think we should change too.
Yeah. So that's just a matter of that. And again, it would be better, I think, as far as equalizing the appointments and the things that happen. It would do better if the original plan were followed, that the GAC or the advisory board was making the recommendations, because it's supposed to be elected official from each of the 24 municipalities in the county. And so that would tend to, when you're making those appointments, it would seem that the recommendations from that board to the commissioners for the appointments would give you maybe a broader scope or broader talent base to pick from or to select from, and we wouldn't see this business. But when it comes down that you ask when they're not functioning properly, then it comes down to the various municipalities or the township associations, and borough associations making a recommendation to the commissioners, and they're making the appointment. It's just a matter of, in some ways, by default, that when the county is okay, the city has there's 3 representatives from the city. There's a vacancy. The city makes a recommendation to the county, and the county makes an appointment. But it does tend to, if the townships are not making recommendations, it tends to make that they get underrepresented, right? Or the areas of the code down that way, wherever it is. If nobody makes a recommendation to the commissioners, they can't make an appointment. They don't have a crystal ball. So to me, it's a matter of trying. Partially, it's trying to find where do you find the talent and representation. As much as any, it's not necessarily it's how we're set up to make these appointments in some ways. All right, I've said enough. Too much. It's just, this is a starting point. We just need to talk about it.
Yeah. So if there's ideas, please get a hold of me, email me. It's February. Our next expirations are at the end of this year. You can see the dates there. It's Bill, Jim, and Tom are up this year. It would be nice when we do the reappointments that if we're going to make the change, the new appointments fall under this new change. That said, it's February. We have till the end of the year. The end of the year will be here before we know it if we don't keep this on the front. So that's that. Unless there's other comments, I don't want to cut it off.
So any other discussion, or just give Dave your thoughts about this whole thing, because it's something we just need to discuss before. It takes.
Bill, I think Amy has something to say.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Just so that you folks know, one of the things that our current Board of Commissioners is doing is we are trying to encourage folks that have not been involved in government previously to become involved. And so we've tried to make the talent bank easier to find. Thank you for helping us with the website. But so I think that kind of goes hand in hand with what you're talking about. So I think that you're on the right track as far as our perspective is, and we welcome your thinking about that, because we can't think about those of us that are here now. We need to think beyond and into the future, and we don't know who's going to want to be on here or not, but if we have better options, that might help us. I don't mean better than you guys. That's not what I meant. I meant better in that it's a broader.
Yeah. Well, I think too.
And I think everybody on here has done a good job. It's just that I agree with you. You have to look to the future and make some adjustments so that we can encourage other folks with new ideas.
Yeah, personally, I look at how old I'm 78. And I know Herb's about the same, and we got some real old guys.
You could be president.
And I'm not.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure.
Should we
One of the
start
things
a
I would
write-in
like to see on all these boards is some younger people. I mean, the next, this. At some point, some of these younger people need to step up. If
Find them. How do you find them?
Well, this
Yeah.
was being said when I got on 10 years ago.
You were young.
10 years ago when I got on, Randy Eisenberg, my very first meeting, said, we need more people his age.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I mean, it's just, but it's just.
Well, and we all age in place. This is a good group. We don't really want to
Yeah,
tamper with the dynamic.
I've said publicly, and I've said this is probably one of the best boards I've ever worked with, as far as talent, and knowledge, and things of that sort. But at the same time, none of us are getting any younger, and where's the next generation that's to do this? Where's the next generation to do this?
I'd like to say something that, you know, I've been a borough representative since I've been on this board, and I don't have any contacts with any of the boroughs. You know, I don't know who they are. They don't know who I am. I don't even know if they know what I do. So I think that we ought to have some kind of a task list that maybe every election year after the new people are appointed, we go and show up at their meetings and we say, I'm from the planning commission and here's my card. If you have any questions, call me. And then also have a list of things that they could address to us, things that we can, you know, help them with, or things that are issues that if they have these kind of issues, you know, give us a call and let's talk about it, you know, that kind of thing. Because I don't think even people even know who we are or what we do. And I maybe that should be a requirement that we do this.
Can I just make a suggestion? I think people our age don't realize that the planning commission is out there unless it's something significant and widely publicized, such as the Strollo farm that affected the borough. I think your point is valid that maybe one of the borough representatives could go to the SCUBA meeting and you could present for 15 minutes and, you know, as a board member of the commission and talk to the borough association. Same thing with the township. They have their annual convention in the fall. That might be something that one of the township board members can present there as a, you know, just to kind of get that out there and get the pot stirring, because that stuff is publicized of what comes out. I think that's a very valid point. I think he's younger than me, but our generation.
You're younger than me.
Oh, I thought I was older than
No,
you.
I'm older than you.
I would be surprised.
I'm just saying.
Yeah,
I don't
Can't you
think
tell?
I don't think that they understand. I don't think they realize that it's out there to even become part of, like, to apply,
Right.
to become part of the pool to be selected as a representative. So I think it actually needs to be publicized from our end that this is available, that they can submit a talent application to the commissioners and possibly be selected. Just generate some interest.
I don't think we want to get, you know, the problem is I don't think we need to think that we're alone in trying to get younger members, because I know, at least in my municipality, in the area I'm in, they've had problems getting younger people involved. It's just a general thing that I know that it's certainly younger than I am now, but there's still, I have a borough authority that's the same, similar situation. Most of the members on it are retired and older, you know, not younger generation. And it is a different perspective when you get older.
Drive around to all your borough meetings, township meetings. People that are sitting on the boards are all 60, 70, 80 years old.
Well,
The younger generation does not get involved at all.
Well, the one thing about the younger generation, like when I first started with the city, I was young. Not young now, but I knew far less than what I know now. And that's the problem when you have younger people coming on board, they don't have the expertise. So that's a fine balance that you're going to have to learn how to work with. Yes, if we need younger people. At the same time, we need younger people that have the knowledge.
Well, I would tell you that in Williamsburg, we're a little different. Woodbury Township, 2 of the 3 supervisors are under 50. In Catherine Township, in Williamsburg Borough, 2 of the borough members are in their 30s.
Mhm.
So
Same
we
with
have a
West
little
Woodbury
bit
Township.
of both.
I think you
We
need
have
both.
some of the older and we have some of the younger.
I think you need both. I think you need I'm not saying you need to replace everybody with somebody under 30 or anything. I'm just saying you need a better mix than what we've typically had. I mean, just because of the fact that
Well, you don't want to go
balancing
to one extreme
experience.
to the other extreme.
No, you want kind of a mix. You want some kind of a mix of older experience plus younger people coming on who are going to carry on.
Well, not only that, your older ones can elevate the younger ones with
Yeah.
their expertise.
Yeah, you get their game plan, you get their game up a little higher. So. All right, I guess. I didn't really realize we were going to ignite one with that discussion, but that's fine.
Wait for the next one.
Wait, yeah, the next one's good. Well, wait, Dave says wait till the next one, and I can see why, but that's all right. One of the problems, the other issue we've come up with is that it's always been an issue of equity in how people and how we do what the local share is and what local people are participating in. Part of that comes from the fact, some of that is that it's based on a per capita basis right now, and if you're in one of these small townships, you pay nothing, and so what tends to happen is if you've got a project that quickly exhausts any local share contribution you've made, and that so the larger municipalities and seeking the city and some in the Logan Township and some of the bigger areas ended up subsidizing, say, your grant applications and that sort of stuff. So this again is just a discussion on how we might, and I say might, rectify some of how we might change some of that. And again, Dave, take it away. I don't want to.
This is based on this year's numbers. The red is what's in place. So 2023 traditional is based on our straight up per capita share. This is what everybody's paying based on their populations. And you can see there's quite a disparity. We go from $76.7 at the county down to $57.24 at Tunnel Hill. And the disparity there, the ones that are paying more tend to use us less, with the exception of the county. The ones that pay us less tend to lean on us a little more heavily. And it has to do with what their internal structures are doing. The green is one approach that we were thinking of where we allocate 25 staff hours to each municipality. Additional hours would be available for purchase at a shop rate, and that is just a straight rate right now. We didn't figure in any kind of administrative overhead on that. That's a straight average rate right now. At the bottom there, the 48. But you can see it balances out if we do that. And what they would do is we would take a quarter. That's this proposal. We would take a quarter of the overall local share, and it would be an equal rate, which right now that's posted at $13.64 for this example. That would be added. Everybody would pay that, and then for the remaining 3/4 of the local share, it would be done like what we're doing now on a per capita rate. It balances it out. It gives everybody an equal opportunity to access planning services, grant writing services, ordinances, whatever service that we can provide them. They have their 25 hours to do what they need to do. Now, the one concern comes in, what if we had 25 municipalities all wanting 25 hours of service in 1 year? That's not likely to happen. The different projects that go on throughout the county tend to, they pop up. It's like whack-a-mole. It's this township this year, this borough next year, and we know they're coming usually. If we're in touch and we do our outreach, we generally know they're coming. But we're not going to be working constantly with 25 municipalities all at once. But again, if something were to come up, they need extra hours, we can put the extra hours in there. it balances out some of the things they lean on us for, particularly the grant writing. It would help cover that. So if Sherry is writing out a grant, it takes her 10 hours to do that. We can deduct that from the 25 hours that they've been allocated. The right column of the green is the difference. This is what the change would be for each municipality. And when you look at what the current rates are, you can see, some of these are going from like $513 at Juniata. They're getting a $1,200 increase. Some of these smaller townships, that might be quite a hit. But again, this is one concept to balance out and create a little bit more equity in terms of leaning on staff, which we want people to lean on us. That's why we're here. We want people to be able to use these services and it will help move the county forward. There's a lot of potential here that's not being realized because people again don't realize we're here and what we can do for them. But that's one idea there. The orange, just so you know, it's something we've kept track of over the years. There was a period for a while where we did not increase local share. We instead relied on attrition and grants to balance the budget. If we had kept up with our local share, that's where we would be. That's neither here nor there. It's just that's there. This is a standard spreadsheet I've been using. That's the only reason that orange is there. So you kind of write that off unless somebody really wants to push that. I think we'd have a revolt if we went that direction. But the green versus the red is really what we're looking at, and this is based on this year's numbers. So, and again, we're coming into budget season, so if we're going to make this change, it's time to really sit down, buckle down, and present this. I was going to present this at the GAC meeting this month coming up to see what the reaction is. It has been presented in a conceptual way to each municipalities at last year's outreach meetings. So this is what we're looking at, and the green is the concept we've been going with. It seems to be the most logical one. I can knock the hours down to 20 hours or 15 or whatever. 25 seems to be a healthy number. It gives us a number of hours so we can sink our teeth into something and give them a good, robust product. So, but again, this needs discussion.
Again, the only thing one of the things we had said is Dave's whack-a-mole concept or idea basically is that, like you said, all townships don't use the service every year. So one of the ideas that was floated on that was to permit, say, carryover that would go for, say, 3 years, something of that nature. So that if you're a local township and you don't use it 1 year, you have some cushion. You're not going to pay that flat every year and not realize anything for it if you don't use it that year. And then after 3 years it would expire. But that was only because it's like you said, not everything comes up not every township comes up with that kind of hours every year. So the only attempt on this is to try and equalize out. And it does fall. It would seem to fall on the townships, but it's also that it's not having the larger municipalities subsidize them. So that's again, this is up for discussion. There's nothing set in concrete. There's nothing except discussion at this point.
So do we have like a list of services that we provide, or that communities like you can get these things done,
Yeah.
right? And you were saying that maybe they don't use all their time. It could be forwarded to the next year. Could that create problems? Is that what you're suggesting?
Yeah, I'm just saying that not every township would use, say, their 25 hours of service every year.
So
If
it's
they
not
don't,
use it or lose it.
you don't use it.
Eventually, you would lose it.
Eventually you'd lose it, but
Eventually
after
you'd lose it.
maybe not every year. You'd lose it after maybe 3 years. It's just an attempt. It's an attempt to try and equalize out the the burden, if you want to call it that, on everybody.
So another question I have, like a borough like Newry, their fees would be 10 times as much as they started
That's
with.
the issue.
That's
So
the
do
issue.
we send our new community relations person out with like a suit of armor, you know, when they go to the meetings to explain that, you know, to them that this is going to happen? I don't know how
Well,
we're gonna accept
At
that.
the same time, what has been happening is that some of the smaller townships and municipalities have been using a disproportionate amount of the local share money. More than what they're, far more than what they're contributing.
I mean, that makes sense.
And that's, and, you know, we have had some response from the larger municipalities stating that they feel they're subsidizing some of these rural townships on local share money. Now, the only thing you can say about local share is that is our only discretionary money. That local share is the only discretionary money that this board has. Because everything else that comes in through grant has an earmark on it. And you can't, I've had this discussion in the municipality a lot. They'll get a grant and they'll say, well, that's not important. We need to do this more. Why don't we just take that grant money and spend it on Project X rather than Project Y? And you say, whoa, 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 you can't do that. That's not permitted. But that's the local share is our discretionary money, and it pays for the, if it pays for the grant writing, it pays for, if there's a local share required on a grant, it pays for that, some of that, it goes towards that. So it's just, this is just an attempt to try and equalize things. And it's a good attempt. I'm not going to go that far. I'm not going to offer value on that. I just want people to think about it. Think how you might, whether this is what we want to do, or do we just want to keep on going the status quo?
I will say, under the current situation, there are municipalities, we cannot take a trip to and back without exhausting the local share. One trip.
Oh,
So, yeah, we do have that issue right now. There were other things that were considered. This seemed to be the most equitable, most viable. We considered at one point changing this from population-based to road mileage-based. We considered changing it to differences in the assessed value of the properties within the townships and boroughs and the city as well. The idea being that as the assessed value changes, that's likely where we're spending most of our time. In other words, the assessed value goes up. That's indicative of development in that area, and that tends to be where we would spend our time. Of course, there's things we do that aren't development related, and so that went back. The road mileage concept came from the fact that a lot of what we do goes through the MPO, so maybe we do that. There was at one point we were going to do a combination of population and land area, and I believe it was road mileage. It might have been the assessment one, and that got so complex that one didn't live very long. It would probably take me 3 or 4 weeks every year just to calculate the share, let alone anything else going on. There are other areas nationwide that are set up this way, and they do a combination like that in an effort to equalize it out. So we did look around. This seems to be the simplest way of doing it outside the way we're doing it now. But in terms of trying to provide some equity in terms of what people are paying for the services, this seems to be the simplest way of doing it. So that's why we settled on this. But like I said, there's other ways. If somebody comes up with another one, the number of clouds that are overhead on June 6th or something like, whatever. I'm all ears for different ideas, but it's to address the imbalance that's going on right now.
The other point on this is that planning commission through, is it's now structured through with the advisory board, and that is kind of a voluntary organization on the part of the members, the member municipalities. And so what happens if some municipalities decide they're gonna opt out, they don't wanna be part of this anymore, then the only thing we can say is, no ticket, no laundry. That's the only option we have, is that if you don't participate, no services. So that's something else that has to be, you have to realize has to be on the table. That if somebody opts out, then does that mean we won't do things for them? Yeah, we'll do things for them, but it's gonna be charged, they're gonna be charged at our hourly rate. And build at that.
What if that's preferable to them?
Well,
Preferable to many?
that's their decision, but at the same time, if they decide they're gonna pay it that way, then, even when it comes down to answering the phone calls, you're gonna you're gonna be billed for the hours. I mean, that's the only way it can work, is if you don't participate as a member, then no services from us.
I could see them from a permitting standpoint, where a lot of DEP permits, the municipality and the county have to be notified. The county commissioners, if you notify them, they pass it on to the planning commission to review. So then the review fee to the individual trying to apply for the permit will go through the roof.
Well,
Because the municipality, some of the municipalities already charge that individual a large dollar figure to apply for a permit. So that could end up stifling some development from happening.
If they back out.
If they back out.
Yeah.
If a municipality
Yes.
backs out and it puts it on an individual, just from a permitting standpoint of,
yeah,
And each municipality's price is different.
I've seen that happen. It's happened it happened with building permits in Tyrone, where they essentially, at one point, they had a code enforcement officer who's had the necessary licenses and certificates to do the permitting. And they decided it was costing too much money, and they went to a private. They fired him. They hired just a code enforcement officer who does some permitting, but not
all of it.
Not all of it, and it has to go to an outside agency for review, and basically put their building permits
Sky high.
up through the roof.
So if they're countywide initiatives like the comprehensive plan, the hazard mitigation plan, and the municipalities back out of this, how would we go about, they have to be included in both, so how would we go about charging them?
I don't know.
I mean, it's just something to think about
Yeah,
because
there's all sorts of
their
things we have
insurance-
to, I'm just saying that,
Nuances.
there are advantages, and, okay, you can grumble about it, but the bottom line is it's probably still advantageous to pay the fee and be part of the board. But I can see where some of the small municipalities may decide they want to opt out. And the only option we have is if you can't provide services just because you want to provide, because they're nice people and all that. We have to at least recover our costs. And right now, what I'm hearing from Dave and everybody is that for some of these municipalities, the local share does not let us recover those costs, even to the extent that making one trip into the municipality eats up their local share contribution. And then that means that everybody else is subsidizing.
Right.
So this is just an attempt, maybe not a good one, but it's an attempt, or not even a perfect one at this point, or what we want to do. It's an attempt to try and equalize that a little bit. And so, again, it's open for discussion. Dave's going to take it to the GAC.
well, I think you need to market it as there's an advantage to paying the local share, because if you don't, it's going to adversely affect the
Yeah, I
people
think
in their
that's, yeah.
municipality.
I'm not saying we're gonna do this.
No, I'm not disagreeing, I'm just, you gotta,
You gotta
you gotta market it that there's an
Well, you
advantage to
get-
being a member.
you gotta put out there what the advantages and disadvantages, what the benefits and disadvantages or whatever you want to call it, or penalties are gonna be if you're not. So,
And how do we sell this? Do you have to go to every
We'll
meeting?
go to the GAC next. So that's in March.
and
And hopefully we have enough municipality representation there that it'll get out. I mean, this has been presented to every municipality through our outreach last year. We did it in more of a conceptual format. We didn't give them actual numbers or anything, but it was a conceptual format. You know, if we gave you 20 hours for a flat rate for, we tried to figure out and do some hypotheticals. And I don't remember any pushback. Do you remember, Jerry? I don't think anybody pushed back on it hard. But they didn't have any of these.
they didn't have a dollar.
They didn't have any great
They didn't
numbers
have
in
a
front
dollar
of them.
number.
So,
It's-
yeah.
it's-
No, we anticipated it, but they didn't.
You know, if you do implement the green figures, to make it ratchet up over time, rather than just.
Yeah, well, that's another issue. It's somewhat of a similar issue, but it's been the problem that for many years, we did not keep up with that and did not do that. And that's the reason we're in kind of one of the local
I'm just
share
trying to
money
look
problems.
for
You
a
have
better
to
way
kind
to make it more palatable for these, you know, like this one that pays $57 and, 24 cents, you know, their jump's like 1,353, that's a pretty big jump. You know, where if you actually ratchet it up over time,
Oh, okay.
they can, yeah.
And with this income, then we're able to get the additional staff we need, and we've already worked
Well,
this
this
out.
doesn't change our income. This
doesn't.
is income neutral. It just changes the distribution of who's paying
How
what.
we're getting it.
Yeah, that's why I said, as we're getting into the budget season, that's the next step here, starting maybe next month, month after. Okay, what are our projected costs for next year? Are we gonna have to bump up the local
So
share?
everything could go up even more.
Yeah.
Well, the two
And,
biggest.
some of the local
contributors
share is
to that,
related to the MPO grant.
like the two biggest contributors, the county and the city of Altoona. Crazy. Oh.
Okay.
There's one element on here, just if I have a minute. Just to update everybody, the city comp plan is at a full draft at this point. There is a public comment period that will be kicking off in April. I think they were looking at the 9th, but that date may change. That will trigger a roughly 45-day public period. It's going to kick off with almost like a public hearing level. It's not quite a public hearing level, but a very public, open mic type meeting at the Planning Commission. It will end with a formal public hearing before City Council. They're hoping to adopt it in July. It is online at altogetheraltoona.com for public comment and review, and so they're basically ready to go. It looks like a good plan. It looks like it's going to give them some direction. And City Council Monday night seemed to be very satisfied with it, very excited to pick it up and run with it. So I'm glad for them that this has been a very positive experience for them. It's affirming some things that need to be affirmed, and so we'll see where it goes. But I just want to bring up that the public comment period is going to open here shortly, and the draft is online at this point if you want to read it.
I'm a little concerned about the last plan that was finished. It was completed, and a report on the measure of attainment of that plan, I understand, was created but never published. Is anybody else aware of that? I mean, if you have a plan, you should say whether it's successful or not. What did we achieve, what didn't we achieve? And I'm aware of the things that we achieved. And I know that that report has been prepared, but never, did you ever hear of it? I never heard of it being reported. So we did a job, but we don't know if we finished it.
For the positively also.
Yeah,
The current.
I mean, you should know whether you accomplished something. And actually, we accomplished a lot, but it's a secret. And I fault the city planning commission for that, by the way.
All right, I guess, I that's always been a problem. There's the final report never gets written, it seems sometimes. We're down to, Amy, it's your turn.
Thank you. Well, we commissioners have concentrated on two particular projects that would be impactful to the planning commission. So I think I want to just sort of fill you in on that a little bit. We've invited the public to come to our meetings on Thursdays the last couple of weeks to discuss the involvement of the county in creating an authority or something along those lines so that we can push ahead to have whatever organizations become a part of that so that there can be applications for grants in order to connect the various trails that we have throughout Blair County and to connect onto the counties on either side of us that are all a part of the 9/11 trail and just other trails that have been going through. Not just for the purposes of tourism, but also for the purposes of encouraging folks, now that there's remote work and there's all sorts of different options, we're hoping to encourage people to look at Blair County and its beauty and what we have available to offer as a life destination, not just a tourism destination. And so we're hoping that with development of the trails themselves, it will be advantageous for folks who like them or might want to live along those to start some developing, and maybe some businesses would pop up, different things like that. So we're hoping to spur some development in that respect. It's not going to happen in the next year. It's probably going to be the next Board of Commissioners that'll be finishing out that project, but at least it's something that's positive, we hope, and we want to let you in on that so that you're looking for those kinds of things that planning might be able to be involved with. The other issue is the prison. I mean, we've been looking at the prison, and depending on what we end up doing, if we acquire property in order to have a new facility that we would build, then it's going to cause some issues, not only in planning, but also maybe in transportation, which the NPOs might going to have to look at. If people need to go to a place that's not necessarily the courthouse. Courthouse is currently on the Amtrak route. But if we have a prison in one of the townships or something like that, where Amtrak doesn't serve, we have to plan all of those different kinds of things, obviously. So we just, thought it would be good to let you guys know that there'll be some planning going into what we end up doing with the prison. And there's no decisions made yet. The whatever that is, the study that we had done is, we thought it was complete. We had to eliminate some of the properties that were proposed, and so we're having them look at a couple more that we, so that is moving along, but very slowly.
Okay.
So that's everything. If you have any questions, you can contact me or any of the other commissioners. Thank you.
All right, board members. What do you got?
As I read this list here, I guess this is my last year.
No.
We can reappoint you.
Didn't anybody tell you
Check out
that the
the
other
candidate.
thing, the way the appointments work for the planning commission
Perpetual.
is you are appointed and you serve if your term expires, you serve until your replacement is appointed.
Or I quit.
So if Amy and the commissioners don't make an appointment to
You're
replace you,
stuck.
you're here forever.
You better treat her very nice.
Didn't they tell you that when you signed up? When you
I
enlisted?
found that out the other year.
They didn't tell you that when you
I was
enlisted.
happy to see I'm done this year, so that's good.
Oh.
Let's try to get along here.
Don't think you're gonna get off that easy. We spent money on that board member sign for you. All right, Walt.
I'm good.
I thought we'd given you lots of material for a lot of articles.
You did.
Do a whole
Gotta
extra
make a
thing.
special edition after.
Special edition of the mirror or something, right? All right, if there are no further items, we got a list of meetings and the things that are coming up.
The GAC is not on there.
Okay,
And that is on March 18th in the evening at Logan Township.
okay. If there are no other business or nobody wants to say anything, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second, we got it, we're out of here. Thank you for your patience and your input.